Folks, you better get ready because this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Palantir stock is going parabolic and it's about to crush all of its competition. There's a real core reason that its stock is in surge mode right now, and we're going to break it down step by step by step in today's lovely video. What is coming soon is going to shock everyone. It's going to be shockalific. Number one, why now? Why is the stock surging right now? Number two, companies across the board are reporting unbelievable results using Palantir products. What are they, and what are they saying about how far the stock can run? Number three, balance sheet. The balance sheet is spiraling upward. What do you need to know about it? Number four, my price target on Palantir stock and my reasoning and overall justification for it. And finally, number five, we're going to talk about the strategies to play Palantir at current levels. And before we get into it, I do want to remind you that, as always, if you're the one taking the risk, you got to be the one doing the ultimate frisk. Always do your own due diligence on all ideas presented here on the channel. Also, quick plug, the market is hot as hell right now, and it's an excellent time to start using options. Options are especially useful for folks working with a small account. Now, I know if you're new to options, they can look pretty scary, which is why we've built a massive program with hours of video lessons, a private chat, and near daily options alerts to help you out. Some of our top recent options alerts include Palantir calls alerted last week on June 24th. Those calls went from our alert price of about $2.51 all the way to $4.40, which was a run of about 74%. Microsoft calls, we alerted those at $2.23, and they ran to $11.87, which is a run of about 432%. Our Meta calls ran from $25.24 alert price to $100.92, a run of about 298% alert price to highs. Apple Leaps, we alerted at $8.57, and they ran to $31.44, 266% run alert price to highs. Tesla, we originally alerted Tesla Leaps at $30.25 back in March, but we specifically stated look for a dump, look for a dump, look for a dump. Now, if you bought those calls at our original alert price, you more than doubled your position. However, if you waited for a dump, like we said, you could have gotten as much of a 371% run. Obviously, these are some of our best and most recent ideas, but every single idea is well researched, and with the alert comes with detailed explanations as to why we chose said option, which is key for learning. If you'd like to learn more, I'll put the link down below. Make sure to use coupon code USA50 to get 50% off the program, and that is a one-time fee for lifetime access to our program. Okay, so let's get to work on Palantir. So Palantir is a company that focuses on building software platforms for organizations to significantly improve the way they integrate, visualize, secure, and analyze their data. Palantir is arguably the most promising artificial intelligence and data mining organization on planet Earth. Now, the analogy I have for Palantir is, say a company came up to you and they said, hey, look, Mr. Charlie Charlito, we can make you 10 times more effective at work. We can make you make decisions that could increase your income by 5 to 10x. We can help you find expenses that you don't need. We can help you take out things that make you less productive. We can help you be healthier, happier, have better relationships. We can make it so that you're not such a lazy piece of shit. Well, what exactly would you say to that? Well, you'd say, hell yeah, here's my credit card. And that is essentially what Palantir does for organizations. Palantir's core competency lies in helping organizations make sense of massive data sets, providing insights that drive strategic decisions and operational improvements, which is why the vast majority of customers decide not only to stay with Palantir, but also to choose to further scale Palantir into their organization. But today, folks, we need to dive a little bit deeper beneath the surface. You have to understand that the reason that Palantir is really rallying right now is because Palantir's products are the talk of the town. Everyone in the corporate world is talking about Palantir right now. And it's because whoever has used Palantir, well, their heads are spinning. They're realizing, oh my God, this is taking my business to the next level. So corporations that aren't using Palantir, they're like, oh no, our competition is going to destroy us. And this isn't just hyperbole. There's actual real data that supports this, and I'll show you later in the video. But what you have to wrap your mind around is that for folks who are choosing Palantir's competitors, well, those folks are finding that competing software is basically just bloat. It's useless, ChatGPT, maybe even worse than ChatGPT style information. And look, ChatGPT is fine for individuals, but for major organizations, not so much. Palantir's products are different because these products actually train to fit your organization. They actually master exactly what you need them for. You give it a little bit of training time in a boot camp, and all of a sudden your employees know how to use the platform, and the platform knows how to operate your business and help you make better decisions. And the turnaround time between unloading and actually helping a business is very, very short in many cases, if not most cases. business. Palantir has a clear benefit. I onboard it today, it helps me usually tomorrow. And over time, the platform, the AI behind the platform, knows more and more about your business, and it can be integrated even more and more deeply and more fine-tuned over time. A lot of these other platforms, they don't learn very quickly, and when they learn, it's usually wrong, and also nobody knows how to operate them, so it's just useless bloat. In many cases, if you look at the reviews of some of Palantir's competitors, it really just looks like these companies would have been better off paying ChatGPT's $25 monthly fee. With Palantir, you're on a completely different level. Palantir has posted endless videos showing how customizable and how useful their software is in a myriad of different industries. Whereas in most cases, the competition is just useless bloat. Gartner Research actually did a study on this, and they found that 80 to 90% of data science and analytics programs fail to execute. So you spend all this money for a program and then it fails to execute. What a complete scam and load of garbage. If you choose Palantir, you know what happens? Well, the next day, you're starting to see some results. Now, obviously, more or less, I've been saying many of these things for years. But at the end of the day, my conviction comes not because of all of the anecdotes that we see on their website or on YouTube, but rather because of the reported numbers that we're seeing. We see quarter after quarter after quarter, customers spending more and more money on Palantir's platform, as well as, of course, more and more customers joining Palantir's platforms to begin with. But I do want to take a moment to look through some key examples from major companies that are using Palantir's platform and are reporting huge results. Just to give you an idea of some real-world applications here. So Tampa General Hospital said that within their 30 months of using Palantir software so far, they accomplished a ton, including an 83% reduction in time to place patients, and a 57% reduction in EVS agency spend, and a 25% EVS cleaning turnaround time improvement. EVS, by the way, is code for people that are managing the maintenance of a facility, whether it's cleaning, disinfecting, so on and so forth. Very key and expenses for hospitals. United Airlines is another example. As a frequent flyer myself, I am a huge fan of when my plane takes off on time, stays in the air when it's supposed to, and then lands at my destination somewhere around the time of when it's supposed to. I know a lot of airlines these days, especially the ones that use Boeing, aren't a huge fan of the staying in the air part. But quite frankly, I mean, if they start using Palantir, you might start seeing that change. In terms of United Airlines, their platform relies on Palantir software for its predictive capacity, and they reported that 107,658 customers avoided delays and cancellations annually. And that is just really in the beginning of their scaling up of Palantir software into their enterprise. In terms of clinical trials, Para-Excel reported a complete digital integration allowing hyper-automation of before manual processes, which then goes on and promotes better data discoverability and insights. In terms of actual results from this, they reported 6 to 7 hours saved per subject matter for each study's design, 50% reduction in time to data delivery. General Mills was another one. General Mills recently presented on how they are using Palantir to automate nearly every part of their supply chain, which in 2024, they are projecting to save them $40,000 a day, and likely a lot more in coming years. Lowe's reported that Palantir had near immediate impact. They reported a 75% reduction in overdue activities in pilot group studies that they ran. 15 minutes per agent per day saved in daily setup. They found increased agent satisfaction. If you look at the number of active daily users, they exponentially increased as part of their rollout. The number of unique users per day skyrocketed, which gave a pretty good sample size and a good idea of the results that we're seeing. And these are all just a few examples. You can see endless more on Palantir's YouTube channel or through third parties if you look online at different reviews. But quite frankly, folks, ever since Palantir's Alex Karp warned last year that their AI was so powerful, he's not even sure they should be selling it. Well, ever since then, I mean, we've been seeing massive widespread adoption of said platform. And companies are using it to make their balance sheets look insane, completely destroying a lot of their expenses and making far better decisions than their competitors, making it so that if the competitors don't adopt the platform, they're going to go out of business. And sure, some competitors will go to a cheaper alternative. But again, most of those cheaper alternatives are just useless bloat. So much like the Nvidia situation, where there's scarcity and Nvidia is the only one that offers the best, well, Palantir has created that kind of niche for itself. And that is why you should see this stock continue to rally insanely far. Next, I want to talk about Palantir's numbers, because Palantir has always run a tight ship, maybe with the exception of share-based compensation, but hey, you got to lock in the best in order to be the best, right? However, in terms of the actual overall numbers, this is where Palantir really shines as well. In terms of cash reserves, Palantir maintains a very, very strong cash position, providing the company with the flexibility to invest in growth opportunities and weather economic uncertainties, which it has done very, very well. In terms of profitability, I mean, consistent GAAP profitability over multiple quarters highlights Palantir's ability to generate sustained earnings, and that's going to start expanding dramatically. Software, of course, has the potential for endless profit margin. I mean, you can get very, very close to 90% if you're managing an organization sharply. Last report saw an operating margin of 36%, and I believe that can go much higher. Obviously, if you want to get closer to 90%, you're going to have to eventually start cutting back on R&D, but I think there's a possibility that they're not going to have to spend much on R&D maybe in 5 to 10 years, because all of a sudden the platforms are so integrated into all the businesses and they have all of this data that it's going to become a lot easier to apply it to new businesses that do want to use Palantir's platform and onboard it for the first time. In terms of Palantir's debt levels, I mean, they've maintained relatively low debt levels since the beginning, and they've continued to do so, and that definitely reduces risk. In terms of revenue growth, obviously significant year over year and quarter over quarter revenue growth has been driven largely by the increased adoption of their platforms. I believe that's going to continue and skyrocket even more. And a lot of folks do like to poo-poo-doo-poo on Palantir's revenue, saying, oh, well, some of these customers, what if they just all of a sudden stop spending money on Palantir? Well, you got to remember that Palantir has a very, very diverse customer base. So if one industry slows down, if another industry slows down, it doesn't really matter that much, because overall, there's just so many different types of customers from so many different types of industries that that's not really a big problem. I can understand why people that are scared about the government contracts worry, but again, the government doesn't really have that many other alternatives, and just say crazy situation where the government pulls back, well, all of a sudden Palantir can just focus more on the commercial segment, which is much faster growing anyways, and maybe they miss a year or two in terms of beats. Okay, next point I want to give you here. So there's a lot of people that will say, okay, great, Palantir is killing it and they are going to be a winner, but at these valuations, does it make sense to buy? Why not just buy a competitor with a smaller valuation? Doesn't the smaller valuation competitor have a lot more to gain than Palantir? Well, again, we've talked about how the other competitors are really not competitors. They're just like useless bloat in most situations, but I'm sure there's going to be somebody that comes out with a good platform that can start running the race with Palantir. However, the reason why I would say that Palantir is still the main bet is the following. This is essentially like saying, if you were at the Kentucky Derby and you were betting on horses, would it make sense to bet on the horse that ran the last 10 races and won, or would it make sense to bet on some random horse that hasn't won any race? Obviously, most people would elect to choose the horse with the track record. But with Palantir, it's even crazier, because Palantir is like the only horse that's actually racing. The other horses are laying down in the dirt, either in a coma or dead. Maybe one horse is trying to get up, but he keeps falling because his platform sucks. And unlike in the horse analogy, the AI race is ongoing. It doesn't just reset every time you have a race. Any legitimate entrant to the market is going to have to catch up to Palantir, which is running faster and faster and faster as it integrates into more and more institutions, which means what Palantir is offering is only from Palantir and is going to be incredibly scarce. It's the same thing that is driving Nvidia up to insane heights. It's very, very scarce what they have, and nobody is anywhere near where they are. So their product is scarce. That means they can charge whatever they want for it, and Palantir is getting into that same situation. So when you get back to the Palantir question and you're asking, is Palantir too expensive to buy? The answer, in my opinion, is no. I've said that Palantir is a buy at $7 and below. We've made videos on Palantir for years. I've said it was a buy at $10, $15, $20, $25. I've said it was a buy at its heights before the big growth crash, and a lot of people criticize me on that. But if you look at the bigger picture on Palantir, its overall trajectory is very, very clear. And so any opportunity to ride the momentum, to buy the dip, do whatever it is to acquire shares of Palantir, in my view, is a good deal. It's a good deal again. And people say, okay, but Charlie, when you made these videos back when Palantir was at $7, it was at $7. Now it's at $27. It's 4 times more expensive. But it really depends on what your definition of expensive is. Because sure, in terms of numbers, 27 is a heck of a lot more expensive than 7. But in my view, that's similar to saying that Nvidia was more expensive at 60 than it was at 39. Yeah, sure. In terms of a number by number basis, if you're just taking those out of context, yes, more expensive. But today Nvidia is at 140. Obviously split adjusted prices, but you get the point. Now, I'm not saying that Palantir isn't going to have another massive dip. Of course it will. Everything will. But I'm saying that overall, if you're looking at the bigger picture and you're looking at the trend trajectory that it's on, Palantir is a buy at literally every price it's ever traded at. It's just a question of how long you're willing to wait and what your goal is in the position. The fact of the matter is that if you're somebody that saw the stock when it was trading at 7 and decided I'm not going to buy it because it's down and I'm worried it's going to go down even further, which it did, well, at that time, you're also going to have to pay the $7 and the emotional premium attached to it. You're never going to find an opportunity to buy Palantir when it's down or when it's up without paying either an emotional premium or a financial premium. Palantir has grown very well into the valuation that it's at right now and deserves even today to be much higher. But over the coming quarters and years, you're going to see an even crazier scaling up as AI goes exponential, and Palantir has completely outbeat all of its competition, crushed them, destroyed them, dug them into the ground, and spat on their graves. Palantir stock, in my view, is on its next leg and ready to break out far higher. But to what point exactly, Charlito? You talk a big talk, but can I see the walkie McWalkie? Well, if you go back to my price targets I presented in February of this year, I projected that based on sales growth trends, free cash flow, and the increasing average sales per customer, well, I projected the price would start January 1st, 2025 at $51.07, then scaling up to $95, and then $224 by 2035. Now, certainly those numbers are fairly low and over a long time horizon, and they're intentionally conservative to just justify a slow and consistent growth rate for Palantir. I think every number on the chart is incredibly likely to be hit. I think rain or shine, I believe that rain or shine, they'll be hit as well. However, if you look at recent reports, it's pretty clear that these numbers are really undershooting it. Just to point out a few obvious points here, I mean, we estimated that you'd see 15.91% in revenue growth for this year, and in fact, it's going to be closer to 21%, so that justifies a higher price alone. But more importantly, I mean, free cash flow and overall promise of future cash generation, in my view, is going to endlessly hype markets maybe 6 months to 12 months from now, and is going to justify Palantir pricing in maybe years of extra growth. Depending on the market condition, you can get people really hyping up whatever numbers and growth you're seeing in today's era. And right now, the prices suggest that there's not much hyping up of Palantir stock. It's grown into the valuation that it's at today. And right now, the question is, how much are people going to wake up and realize that Palantir is turning into a near monopoly in the sector? Okay, all that aside, what is the best strategy to play Palantir, the tier of the Palan? Well, we've been bullish on Palantir during its bull and bear cycles, and obviously we are past the panic era of Palantir. Maybe it'll come back in a year or two or three in the next crash, but right now we're in a momentum period. So as traders, momentum periods are great for riding and capturing more momentum. They are also great to buy short-term dips on, and I've long been a believer in not really focusing too much on trading Palantir, but rather in buy and holding her. Buying her at dips at good value prices, or yes, during momentum if you're conservative, and waiting for appreciation. I believe that Palantir is a long-term play. I believe that you can make money trading the momentum, but again, I would focus on the long term because I believe there's so much here. And arguably one of the best ways to do both is by buying call options. I mentioned earlier that we alerted Palantir call options back on the 24th of June at $2.51, and as of close Friday, they were at $4.40, which was about a 74% run and a very nice one. A nice turnaround of about a week. And you got to know, folks, that when you utilize the options, you can either sell the options and lock in the profits, or you can execute them and get the shares cheaper. So options can accelerate your accumulation of shares a lot and can potentially accelerate your returns if you employ them correctly. And if you're somebody with a smaller account, these are very critical tools for you. And that's why we built a whole program for you to learn options with our step-by-step video lessons, our private chat room, and of course, our well-researched alerts that are near daily. If you'd like to join us, I'll put the link to that down below. But anyways, have a great rest of your day. Let us know what you think about Palantir stock down below. Are we heading higher? Are we heading lower? Is it hype or is it justified? Let us know in the comment section down below. We love hearing from you. Have a good one, folks, and we'll see you in the next video.